because to treat any person as a non-person is to not see God at all.
Good morning, everyone. So today we have a podcast for you. We're with the famous guest, Dr. Samraj. Dr. Samraj, how are you feeling?
Last time I checked, I looked fine.
Amen, amen. Okay, so we were gonna ask you how your day was gonna go for the evening. Do you have any plans?
After I chat with you guys, I'm planning to go and do a test for philosophy class.
Okay.
Sir, so how would you describe the past 2-3 weeks of this new school year? What are there new things?
I was looking for all the students to turn up to class.
Yeah.
In the beginning, some people have visa problems and issues like registration, finances.
Yeah.
So now within the last 2 weeks, they have all showed up.
Oh.
So the classes are going well.
How was your summer? I know you love to travel and all those things.
Summer was interesting. I went to Athens for my conference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then on the way back, I stopped in Greenland.
Oh.
Sir, what do you think made you fall in love with traveling? Because I know you've went to Antarctica. You constantly mention Switzerland, Egypt, the pyramids. Like you've been traveling a lot. So what do you think?
I think that the more you travel, the more you see different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And they seem to teach me more than what you can learn through universities.
So having that first-hand experience and being able to see what's happening around the world allows you for more wisdom, more knowledge, especially.
Understanding of life in general.
Okay. Let's dive in.
Yeah, I think we could.
So I was doing some research and I looked up some statistics because I was wondering, because you are a philosopher at Burman University, which means you are religious, and it's not a very common combo for a religious student to be a philosopher. And I was looking at it, and according to a survey conducted in 2013, approximately 73% of philosophers identified themselves as atheists, while about 15% identified as agnostics. Therefore, only around 12% of philosophers identified as religious. So I kind of wanted to ask you, how does it feel to be a minority in the world of thinking?
I think God created each one of us as philosophers. If you look at each human being, the way God created each one of us, unique.
Yeah.
And to me, the way God created us with the capacity to think of whatever we want to think about, that freedom that God has given us. And I think that is what philosophy is about, the fact that you can choose what to think about. And to say that just because He has given us that freedom to challenge God Himself does not make any sense to me.
Yeah. So, to your point, you're saying philosophy in a way is it gives you that right to think the way you like, right? To have a broader perspective, to think in a way you want to. What do you think has affected your way of thinking? Like how much has religion affected it? I don't know what your background is.
I think if you ask any human being who's religious or philosophical or a science person, I think we have to go back to what your original question is, whether it's philosophy or science. All of us have to ask the question, why are you here? So I cannot see how you can negate God out of the picture, because God is part of the answer to that question, why you are here. Personally, I think, as we were talking in class some time ago, that trying to give an intelligent explanation without arguing for an intelligent beginning is a meaningless endeavor, you see.
Sir, to what you just said, what is the best argument for intelligent design? Because many people, I was in the class, but I want other people to also understand what you mean when you say an intelligent design.
Because when you look at anything, when you see something that is in front of you, you have two options. Either that has a cause, and that's obvious, but more importantly, does what you see in front of you have an intelligent cause? If you can figure that out, then perhaps you have a reason to search for an intelligent reason.
I see. No, I do agree. I really think the best argument even for the existence of God is intelligent design, rather than even using books.
Just cause. Just to say God is the cause, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense.
You must use that expression, the intelligent cause. That would make more sense.
More sense. Sir, going back to the question I was asking you, growing up in India and all the things you've been through, your education coming up, how has your background affected who you are today? Because I think you differ from other philosophers. Same question he asked you. Because I don't know if you don't usually call yourself, hey, I'm a philosopher, but sitting down in your class, your approach to philosophy, how you treat ideas, questions, and you believe for God must have been affected by something. What do you think you attribute that to? Is it?
I think that, as I mentioned right in the beginning, I think God created each one of us as a thinker. So I can connect with anybody because I think that everyone might not formally think through, like the way you and I think in the philosophy class. But everybody thinks. So that's why when you go to class, at first when they look at me, they may say, I'm an Indian, I am this and that. But once I write a question on the board, almost everybody will forget who they're talking to. They're concentrating on the question. So I think if there is something common in each one of us that should gravitate us together is what is common in each one of us is the quest to know certain things. And I think the question of cause is the famous question of Leibniz. Why is there something instead of nothing? It's a genuine question. There is something, you have to address the question, why is it, how did it get here, you see?
I also wanted to ask you, because have you ever been in the sauna? In a sauna?
Yes.
Amazing, right? So, me and my friends.
It's warm.
It's amazing. You feel so fresh coming out, right?
I don't like it, but yeah.
Okay. See, me and Dr. Samraj, we love sauna.
Okay.
But I love having some talks in there. And we were once, me and my friend, talking about what sets us truly apart. And we came to the conclusion that it is the ability to think and the ability to create thoughts, create arts, and have a creative process of creating and also thinking. Do you think that that's true, or?
I think God has given each one of us 3 eyes.
Oh, okay.
The first eye is the physical eye. You can see a lot of things. Then God has given us a rational eye.
Ooh.
Through which you can actually see things that do not exist. Like a 2025 BMW, it is in the mind of somebody. So we have the eye of reason that can actually see things that do not exist as yet. So creativity is a very big part of that concept. You are able to envision the essence of something that does not exist as of today.
Oh.
The third eye is the eye of faith.
Ooh.
You can actually see eternity itself. So in these 3 ways, 3 eyes that God has given us, you cannot just use the physical eye. So if you want to really appreciate a great inventor, you have to assume that that guy has had an amazing rational eye through which he is able to see things that do not exist.
Ooh. And that's also going to, he created us in his image.
In his image.
That's so amazing. So he's given us the...
So what we share with God is, if that image means anything, it means that we share with God the capacity to create. Though we are dependent on pre-existing things, but we can still shape and resize things.
Okay. Speaking on, you were talking about kind of who God is and what He's allowed, what He's given us. I wanted to speak a little bit on, since God is this great being, and we know from the Bible that we do not have the ability to the extent, the same ability of thinking and creating on the same level of God, that thing you mentioned of being able to visualize something.
The essence of something that does not even exist.
Yes. Since we cannot, well, I assume that I cannot fathom and understand the true character of God. Do you think that us, in our attempt to write who God is in the Bible and what His character is accurate?
I think we share with God, even though the God is much greater than us. We share with God something that is common, that is called consciousness.
Ooh, okay.
So you cannot be more conscious. Either you are conscious or not conscious. So what is common between all of us and God is consciousness. So only a being like great as God can share something that He alone possesses. So that's why He says, don't disrespect people. Or the best way you can respect me is to respect each other. Because you are created in His image.
Sir, in this same vein, what is your understanding of God? Like in your mind, for Dr. Samraj, who is God? Like in your understanding?
In my understanding, God can be understood in 2-3 ways. Number one, something tells you there are objects, concrete objects that you need an explanation for, like causal creatorship of God. But there's something that really intrigues me is about abstract objects like triangles, mathematics, and circles. All of us know that without a mind, you cannot talk about 2 plus 2 is 4. Without a mind, you cannot talk about triangles or circles. But if your mind can think about immortal abstract objects like triangles and circles, then there ought to be an eternal mind in whose mind such realities exist. Because if triangles do not have a beginning but your mind has a beginning, then how do those triangles exist without a mind? Obviously there must be an eternal mind in whose mind such realities must exist. So that's my strongest argument for the existence of an eternal God, not only God,
The God
an eternal God.
What are the other ways you see God?
That is my strongest argument.
Yes.
The other strongest argument is the power of love. Even a child who knows what love is, who knows who God is. Even a child.
It's kind of inside of you in a way.
Yeah, right. The child can acknowledge who God is, and all the child knows is what? Love of the mother. So in India we have a saying that the path to God is mother, father, and then only God. The mother teaches one important thing is love. If the child knows love, then the child will know who God is.
Because the essence of
God is love.
Yes.
Amen. And that one even a child can know. You don't need to be a philosopher to to understand what love is.
And on that specific thing you said, the main character, the essence of God being love, do you think there are times where great philosopher try to disprove God and they complicate it, trying to understand the entirety of God, and they simply can't understand it, so they disprove Him?
I think that there is no proof that will guarantee belief. There's a lot of proof for God.
That's not something you hear often from a philosopher.
Yes, there's no proof that will guarantee you that people will believe in God. For instance, suppose God came and stood in front of us. You can still challenge Him and say, show me your ID. So there is no proof that will guarantee. There is proof, but there's no proof that will guarantee you what? That you will believe. would believe in God.
Yeah. I see. No, I love how intelligent design and love are two separate things.
Two separate
reason and emotion. But
both can take care of the question of belief.
The question of
and
belief.
it will take a small child can believe in God.
Sir, most of the time there's this claim that most religious people use religion as what do you call it? As a coping mechanism.
Yes.
To the difficulties they face. Like, do you think belief that gives hope is a bad thing or good? Or as many would say, living in a lie, is it worth it?
I think you have to go back to do we believe in God for some reward, or would you believe in God regardless of heaven? I think that belief in God is not simply based on heaven. I think belief in God has relevance in this life. I think every aspect, every moment of life is just as important as life yet to come. So to me, I don't think you have to wait to go to heaven to really say that I believe in God.
Yeah.
You can believe in God and make sense out of what's happening here and now.
Yeah, that's... sorry. I just think that most of the time, even leaders in the church fail into that trap of pushing people into the idea that there's a reward, that's why you follow. This world is full of pain, therefore it's not your home. You shouldn't be settled. You shouldn't consider this any constant, but just look to the future in which there's a reward. Therefore, that because of the reward, you have to obey or fall in line, right? And I think that's a very good answer, in that staying present and knowing that now is as equal.
Just as important. I think every moment in life is important. 10 minutes this side of heaven is just as important as 10 minutes that side of heaven.
Yeah, that's so.
Because life is life.
Yeah. Conscious. Both are conscious.
Right.
Both of them are conscious. You have to be conscious to know that.
Yes, exactly.
You're alive. In light of that, sir, so what, again, taking you back, I want to take you back to like when you were in high school or something. What are the things that you remember the most about being in high school in India, growing up? What are the things you enjoyed the most? What are things that molded you or shaped you?
I think friends play a very important role, and mischief.
Yeah.
Those two go together.
Yeah.
High school. Because, if you look at your education, high school friends are very important.
Yeah.
In college, I think undergraduate is the best part of your education. And then masters and PhD, you become very specialized.
Yeah.
But I think the best part of education is during college days. But high school, the best part of high school is friendship.
In building friendships, sir, what do you think is core? People these days feel that they will be betrayed, they will be hurt by trusting people, being around people. What would you say is the best argument for people finding friends, and what's the right way to find good friends that you could have, companionship with?
I think you should befriend as many friends as possible in life. Because no one should be alone. And I think even if you are alone, you are never alone, because if you believe in God, you are never alone.
Yeah.
But you cannot say that I have a relationship with God and not have a relationship with who you can see. Those who are around us are the ones you can see, and I think your relationship this way is indicative of your relationship with each other.
I see.
That's a quote straight out of 1 John, man.
Exactly. If you have seen.
How can you love someone who you can't see when you do not love those who you do see?
So it's imperative.
It doesn't matter.
It is imperative whether he is the same GPA with you or not.
Yeah.
That should not matter at all. Friends are not based on GPA, though there's a tendency of you to flock together with people who are in the same mental strength, but you can join hands with anybody and be friends.
So speaking about friends, I've had many conversations with some of my friends, and religion is a very scary point for many people, and I'm sure you understand
to witness
that. Yes, to talk about. And I try to talk to my friends because I grew up in a church with many youth, many youth, and people simply say, man, I've had it rough. Where has God been? And I want to ask you, with those people, what is your best advice? How can one witness to someone who has had such a hard life and have not been able to see God's hand in their life?
I think the key element there is mostly people will see the hand of God when good things happen. But to see God's hand in everything that happens in your life really calls for true trust in God. Because the best of times and the worst of times, you should be able to see God's hand in your life. So if those who are struggling to see, talk to you about God, but if they see in you that you are able to handle the best of times and the worst of times with the best possible manner, then they sense there is something about it. So they will be asking you questions, even if you don't push God on them. I don't think you need to.
Okay. Sir, there's this fascinating thought that I have encountered in the past 2 years, I'd say. At the beginning, it was your class, I believe, where we touched on something about stoicism and reacting to things that happen to our lives, right? What is your thought process on Marcus Aurelius, stoicism? What do you think about that thought process?
I think a good believer is a stoic. I think. Yeah. I think a stoic thought is simply that you're able to handle the best of times and the worst of times with you don't get too worried. Because the Bible says, you cannot worry, you cannot fear. So to me, if you worry and fear, you might as well say you are not a believer. So stoic is a person who's not afraid. He doesn't worry too much. So those are good qualities, and to me that is a very Christian concept. Why should you get worried? Why should you get worried or be afraid and still believe in God? It doesn't make sense. Those don't go together.
It's really interesting because I've never heard the stoic point of view.
To tie it up with a Christian.
Yes, it's really interesting because you are so right in saying that, God says, do not fear. Exactly. Do not be anxious about anything.
And Stoic is one good example for that. Very strong-willed person, you see.
Sir, did you always have a leniency, a fascination towards philosophy, or was there a time in your life where things changed and you got into that stream? Did you start your university?
No, I think my interest has always been in questions. So my philosophical journey began with the idea that you may have answers, you may have questions without answers, but you can never have answers without questions.
Yes.
So for me, the question has always been more important than answers. Because answers are subject to change, revision, and what kind of thing, you see. But the question remains always, to me, the central part in my mind. So that's the reason why I always feel willing to learn, not only from my own thinking, but from the people I come across, or go to school, go to classes, go and learn about others, because they may give me an answer to a question that I have already.
So in your journey of schooling and stuff, who do you say is who are the writers or people you looked up to and said these, or you taught me
Dostoevsky.
history.
Dostoevsky would be one of my.
Dostoevsky. Okay. So weren't his writings a bit depressing?
He's only stating the world as he sees it.
Yeah.
And the world as he sees it, and as we all experience it, is a depressing place.
Yeah.
But you cannot run away.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Stoic understanding of the world as we see it helps us understand maybe it could be worse off.
Yeah.
It could be better off. But I don't think you should put a lot of emphasis on success as the world puts it. I think I don't know whether you know the Holocaust. There's so many people were suffering, and one of the solution was some people thought they'll throw some potassium cyanide into the prison camps so that they can take and they kill themselves. So some of the Jews turned and said, no, if you know why you live, you can handle the worst of times.
Wow.
So they threw back the tablets back to them. They said, no, we don't need it.
Yeah.
So I think it all depends on knowing why you live. Yeah. Because I personally think that if you have figured out why you live, you can handle the worst of times.
Mm-hmm. So,
but if you don't know why,
yeah,
even the best of times will make no sense to you.
Makes no sense. Yeah, I remember us talking about a similar idea in moral philosophy class where we talked about death, right? Death giving meaning to life. Like, how do you understand that? Because
I think death without life without death would be an imposition. Life without death would be an imposition. So as long as we have death, we are careful in how we drive. We are healthy because if you don't eat unhealthily, you can die. Yeah. So many things happen because of death. Yeah. So I think God in His wisdom chose to create life with death. Yeah. Because without death, life would be an imposition. Life is imposed on you. Now, when you choose to live, it is at that point in time life begets meaning.
Because there's
you can choose to do otherwise, but you choose to live, and most of us choose to live. The interesting thing is you cannot choose to live and not know why you choose to live, and then such a life is worth living.
Sir, I heard a comment, anonymous quote, I think, where someone says, a man has two lives, and the first one is when he comes out of the womb, and the second one is when he realizes he has only one life to live. I just wanted to know what are your thoughts on that, and if, as a Christian we can apply that, or if it's only just one life that we live
One life in the sense that this life is only the continuation of the life yet to come. Exactly. So in that sense, it is only one life. Even though you're going to get another body, it will be exactly the same life. So it is actually one life only we live. So going back to the earlier question, at one point in your life, you realize that you can die. You realize that you will die. Then you also suddenly realize you can choose to die. It is at that point in time when you realize that you can choose to die and you choose to live, such a life is worth living.
It has meaning because of that.
Because of the fact that you chose to live. And that's only one life we have. All of us have only one life. Whether it is this life or the life yet to come, it is actually one life that is...
it's not two.
It's a continuation of the same life.
Same life.
Exactly. That's a very interesting point that you made.
Yeah.
I was gonna... So earlier you spoke...
I think that once you answer the question why, one of the biggest reason is to serve. If you get up every day to serve, again such a life is worth living. Because look at all the people that are involved in your life, providing you life, the services that they provide. Yeah. And for you to get up every day and just to receive services, that will be very selfish. So the biggest contribution you can do in a meaningful life is to get up every day to provide some service to someone. Such a life is worth living.
In talking about that, sir, I know that on campus you teach even in the coldest times, Alberta is not even as fun to live in, even for people like us. I can imagine, because we come from like warmer part of the earth, and you take this on yourself and keep on teaching. What about teaching is fun for you? What do you enjoy about it?
I think that the classroom is the best place on earth, because there you go and meet students who are intellectually honest. It is very easy to be honest, but it's very hard to be intellectually honest. And you will never find a group of people who are intellectually honest than the age group between 20 and 25.
Why?
Because they are not afraid to question.
What do you do now?
Usually after 25, your mind becomes concrete in your thinking. And you tend not to ask questions. But between 20 and 25, you're honest and you're intellectually honest. And to be with that kind of group, only when I look in the mirror, I see how old I am.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I always think I'm like 25 because I'm just talking to you guys.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, there's a mirror right there.
Just in case.
Sir, so I know that you also hold these exhibitions for drawing arts and stuff. First of all, how do you pick those people you draw? I know that you study those people. And like, what's the process of you drawing people? How does it get there?
Every face is a masterpiece. Every face.
Yeah.
And if you tie that with the race, you cannot paint a face without taking into consideration the race they come from. So if you travel and understand the history of every race and the contribution they have made, you start from Egypt, their civilization, the pyramids, the Chinese, the Indians, Caucasian civilizations, the Western civilization, the Greek, the Romans. So if you really want to understand a human face, it's closely associated with the understanding of the race they belong to.
Yeah.
So if you want to capture the essence of somebody, which I enjoy, because suddenly I'll look at a picture and I'll just get caught, drawn to that person.
Yeah.
Usually people who have made a lot of contributions. So I cannot paint somebody unless I know a lot about that person. I cannot paint anyone. I can only paint people who have made taken life seriously and made some contribution to it. And then it is easy for me to paint such faces. So I have picked lots of faces. I think I have painted in a couple of exhibits. I think we have done about 400 plus people.
Yeah. No, it's great how I've seen the latest one with Elon and a lot of younger people on your exhibition, right? A question with that would be, in this day and age, with of course we've been mentioning that you have Indian roots, I have Ethiopian roots. We know there's a rising movement that's a nationalistic movement these days around the world, right? With Trump coming in America, Brexit happening, then now Narendra Modi in India. There are voices coming out in political movements talking about the nation state, the national identity. That's and it seems to be a cycle in history coming back again. What do you think about this? I know that in classes when you mention, let's say, India or other countries, you're humorous about things. You're more objective and you don't feel hurt when somebody makes fun of, let's say, a country or another, right? Because after all, you try to speak the truth as is. So what's your understanding of the rising nationalism between bigger nation states, and do you think the Third World War is on the verge, or will it ever happen?
I think all the political unrest, religious unrest, economic unrest around the world can be traced back to violation of human rights. And that's why you have migrations, people running back and forth here and there, etc., trying to find a safe place to live. So I think the biggest violators of human rights are not people. The biggest violators of human rights are governments. The the governments are the biggest source of negating human rights. So you're right. If a government violates human rights using force, that is weaponization of the law.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you have people clamoring for freedom. I don't think this nationalism doesn't make sense to me at all, because that is very being naive. I think the bigger picture is, why is it around the world everybody is having some kind of turmoil? It's because respective governments are not safeguarding human rights. Why would anybody leave one country if the country is safe?
Yeah.
No one will leave the country. That means we have to reconsider. Many people think there's law and justice. I think we should ask the question, not law and justice. We have to redefine justice in the context of rights. If you define justice in the context of rights, maybe we will stay in our own respective countries.
Yeah.
So I don't think you are less of a nationalist because you came here.
Yeah.
You have come here because you feel that the respect for human rights is better. So I think in that context, we should go back to the violation of human rights as the basis for all the political unrest around the world.
So do you think the Russia-Ukraine war is an indication of a bigger war to come, or you don't think that could happen?
I personally think that leaders will come to their senses and not create a situation like World War I and World War II, where something triggered a big alliance system where all started fighting with each other. I think our senses will, rational senses will prevail. But having said that, we should not minimize what's happening in Ukraine or anywhere in the world. I think this is only a symptom of what's happening around the world.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere is happening. It's just not happening there.
Yeah.
It could be civil war, or it could be wars between two countries.
Yeah.
But all of them are involved in some kind of conflict because of violation of some basic fundamental human rights. One of the things that I think personally having a problem with is the right to life without somebody defining where to live.
Okay.
Every country in the world says you have a right to live, but they never answer the question where.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Theresa May said, if you believe you're a citizen of the world, you're a citizen of nowhere. And that the British Prime Minister that was pushing for the Brexit, right?
But we are birth is imposed on us. So how do you choose to live when birth is imposed on us and there's no one guaranteeing you a place to live?
Yeah.
So I think eventually countries have to address the question. Life implies a place to live.
So a question I've also had on my mind as a theology major is the question of, because in my opinion you have my opinion of, as a religious person, that the Great Enlightenment, that was bad, right, because of the many different ways of thinking about religion. But I'm wondering, as a philosopher, expanding the reason and challenging religion as something positive, right? Because you're exerting your free will and free will of thinking. So I was wondering, in simple terms, do you think the Great Enlightenment was something positive or something that was negative?
Enlightenment is all about thinking through, right? So let me pose the question in another way. What is more important, knowing what truth is or knowing what truth does?
Ooh. Truth does, right?
Religion, is it about beliefs or what beliefs does to you as a person?
What belief does.
Okay, so if your behavior is no better than anybody else and you believe, there is no difference at all. If the believer and non-believer behaves the same way. So what is the main purpose of belief if you cannot translate it in some form or shape to behavior?
Yeah.
So belief in God is actually to behave like God if it is possible.
Okay.
Now back to your question, enlightenment, I think that's a word, interesting word. What does that mean? It means that some people are more enlightened than others.
Yeah, it's a scale. I'm more enlightened than you because I think.
But I think all of us are. It is a phase in life when you open up to, you become aware of. I think instead of using the word enlightenment, I use the word awareness.
Oh,
You become
awareness.
aware of certain things.
And this is really interesting because this was also another question that I wanted to pose you. The word skepticism is one that is really interesting for me because it's something that is quite healthy, right? Being skeptical of why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I following this thing that I can't see? And I was wondering, and I assume that you deal with some type of skepticism in your life and just wondering like, why am I here? Because you think a lot, right? So how do you deal with the thought of why am I here? Am I really in the right path on a daily basis?
It is one thing to question, another to question everything and believe in nothing.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people question, but their reason for questioning is not to believe in anything. So that kind of questioning is a ridiculous exercise.
Yeah.
If a person questions in order to strengthen his faith, that would make some sense. But just to challenge everything, just to disregard everything else, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Sir, many people, obviously around the world, nowadays there's a rising number of atheists. But many people believe in a God or many gods. Is it an innate thing where people want to worship God? Where does that come from? What do you think?
I think one of the French philosophers said that man will find someone to worship.
Why do you think it is?
That's because we are created in the image of God. There is no escape from that. You will not only find somebody to worship, and I hope you'll find the true one to worship, but you will find someone to worship. That's how we are all wired. Our minds are such that we would look to find someone to worship.
Whereas it's hard for us to settle on.
You look at all the great structures around the world, the cathedrals, the great buildings that they built, all in the name of God. So obviously there must be some reason why people earn to find who they are in the context of who God is. So if the best way to know who God is to know who you are.
And another question, because you seem like you have forged a faith that is very strong through reasoning and through questioning and many conversations with God, I assume, right? And I also was wondering, do you think you are currently living how God wants you to live, and are you fully embracing His will that He has for you? His expectation, not His expectation, but what He wants you to do.
I think in the universe there are two wills that are very powerful, God's will and your will. So every now and then you'll see that conflict between God's will and your will. So there's a verse in the Bible which says that take up your cross daily and follow me. So if you define the cross, and you know the mathematical definition for a cross is what? Where two lines meet, right? Similarly, the cross that we are to take up daily and follow is the point where God's will and your will meet. Intersect. And that is always a challenge.
Sorry, I got another one. In this, do you see that often in philosophy and religion? Because, many people, like we stated in the beginning, say religion and philosophy simply clash together 100% of the time. Is that something that you find very common in your life where religion and philosophy intersect? Is there a big surface area where they meet?
I think that it depends on the person, right? So I think that all good thinkers will find it easy to believe in God, simply because one does not exclude the other. To be philosophically in tuned does not negate being a religious person.
Yeah.
You can be philosophically sound, at the same time be religiously sound. I cannot see why they should be contrary. But having said that,
Yeah.
I don't think only a philosopher can believe in God. Even a baby can believe in God if the baby knows what love is. So I think it's all depending on how you are wired. If you are a kind of philosophical you're thinking, I think you tend to, it's a tool. Philosophy is a tool. You can use it for belief in God, or you can use it to destroy it, exactly, to destroy belief.
Yeah. Yes. Changing lanes. Sir.
Okay.
What type of food do you enjoy? What are the types of food you like?
For me, I'm a minimalist, which means that as long as it is nutritious to me, of course, obviously I like Indian food, but I think you should enjoy whatever is offered to you.
Food as a
yes, in terms of food, it's just I wish I had just a entrance here I can put it in.
Yeah.
It's like a fuel system.
Yeah. Sir, on that, talking about food, many people say eating 3 times a day is not a good thing. It's not evolutionarily right, or God didn't even create us to eat 3 times a day. On the other hand, the healthy people say, hey, you have to eat a big breakfast, smaller lunch, and a very small dinner, but you have to do all these things. What do you think about that?
I think the number of meals, the amount you eat, all depends on what work you do. If you are a teacher, I think that you should be a minimalist, because you're not doing any hefty work. So I have a very simple philosophy that if I know I cannot walk, I will not eat.
Okay.
So in other words, if I know that in the next 12 hours I have some problems between traveling or something like that, I'll prefer not to eat, because I know that I cannot walk. So I have to walk. If I eat, I have to walk.
I see. Are you a minimalist in other aspects of life too? Let's say what you buy, what you dress, what you...
I would like to say that I am a minimalist in everything else, but sometimes I am extravagant in my spending habits.
Yes, because I noticed that you help a lot of us with sponsorships on tours, and you...
Because that's possible because I'm a minimalist.
In other aspects.
No, because I'm able to do that because I'm a minimalist in some aspects of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see. That's why you go to sushi and stuff. Yeah. we go sushi, yeah?
Waiting for my invitation.
Yeah. But again, coming to this point, sir, what's the place you've enjoyed the most traveling to? I know you went on a walk with the penguins, slept on the pyramids. Have you been to the Amazon?
I've been to the Amazon.
Oh.
Every place in Amazon, the 2 rivers meet. Have you heard of that?
No.
There is 2 rivers converge and become the greater Amazon.
Oh.
One is white and one is dark, and you can actually see them both coming together. And some of them for miles they travel without mixing.
Wow.
You can just see this side is kind of white and this side is kind of dark.
Yeah.
So it's because of the mountains from which the minerals come through, and you can just see it. But then it just merges together, and then they fall into whatever sea that is.
Is that the place you enjoyed the most, or?
I think in terms of awe, that is amazing just to watch that, because you cannot see. Not only is it long. Amazon is very long, right? Thousands of miles. But you cannot see one end of the river to the other end either. The breadth. You cannot see. It is so wide also. Not only long, it's also so wide.
You can't see the end of it.
You cannot see the, what do you call the width. Yeah, you cannot see the width.
Wow, that must be wild.
Okay, I have a very specific question. I am very curious about the Amazon, and I always dreamed of going there. And I think one of my favorite, I mean, the Amazon is known for being green, right?
Yeah.
And I always wondered, what does it smell like?
Well, all along the banks, you have all kinds of things. What's that big snake called?
Cobra.
Oh,
Anaconda.
Yeah, boa constrictors.
You can see them all along as you're driving on the boat. You can see them on the and it's so interesting to see raw in the wild. It's just beautiful. It is.
You found it. I'd be scared.
Yes, a lot of people were. They didn't want to go close to the shores.
Yeah.
Another question on that topic. This one is because we're trying to go down to the less philosophical so we can give our brain a break, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this one is a little bit philosophical. If you had to be an animal, first of all, which one would it be and why?
That's interesting. What do you see in animals that will draw you to it? I think I would like to be what is that? There's a yeah, that's an interest because I use the word goat quite a bit, you know. I'll come to that in a minute. But I think if there's instead of animal, you're referring to birds also.
Yeah.
Yes, insects.
Okay, so I think I'll rather be a bird. The reason is I love flying. I took up flying lessons because of that.
Oh really?
Oh wow.
Yes.
Jets or
No.
no? I meant like
Flying. I took lessons for flying.
oh. So do you have like the thing for it?
Certification.
No, I did not. I took it for the sake of
Fun.
fun, just to fly. So I know I can fly a little bit, not too much, but I can handle a little bit. The reason I quit flying was you have to do maneuvers.
Oh yeah.
You have to take your plane up and stall it and drop the plane from 5,000 to 3,000 feet and then bring it back and land.
Yeah.
Or take it back up again.
Yeah.
So when those maneuvers came, I quit because it was like throwing up.
We didn't know you were Tom Cruise, sir. So
Yes.
with the goat thing.
A goat.
People in the past it was like a negative connotation, had a negative.
Yeah.
But in the recent years, especially in the footballing world.
Yes, they're all using the word goat.
The greatest of
So
all time.
yeah, correct. I've been using this word for such a long time, but now they are caught up
It's
with me.
positive. Yeah, it's caught up with you.
Given a positive twist.
But do you think the negative connotation is a result of the Bible saying goats and sheep?
No.
No?
I think my students know that when I call them a goat, they know that I'm referring them to the greatest of all times.
I see.
Yeah, from the beginning I have had that idea.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, and but only students who took my class will know that.
I see.
So the new students will be always wondering, what's going on with this
Goats.
teacher. Yes.
Sir, so do you believe human intelligence has been growing knowledge or dropping? Because this
Evolution
question,
or devolution?
yeah, because I'm asking this question because I've seen your picture on the pyramid laying your head. There's not a great explanation to how the pyramid was made.
Exactly.
Until now, why do you think that is? Do you think aliens made it? Do you believe in
No, I don't
aliens?
think aliens made it. But you just have to believe that every civilization has had a glorious period.
Yeah.
Every civilization. And Africans, continent, through Egyptians have exhibited a glorious period of their life.
Yeah.
So maybe in the current context, the Western world is
It's the time.
the time for them to shine.
Yeah.
But every nation has had the golden age.
What do you?
So the explanation is not anything extraterrestrial for the building of the pyramids, just their intelligence.
But nobody can explain it now.
But at least let's look at why they built it. Why did they build? They built the pyramids because the preservation of the dead was preparation for afterlife.
So it was also
To me, that one is more important than
Then-
anything else. Just the fact that
Why?
they decided that immortality is you preserve the body, immortal body.
So-
And unfortunately, they
Yeah.
did not know about ziplocks. They would not have built the pyramids. You know what's the secret for the pyramid?
Yeah.
Airlessness.
Actually,
That is the secret of the preservation of the body forever. And do you know when they took the bodies out, they were getting decayed? So now they put all the mummies in glass chamber without air.
Because the air was.
Air is the one
reason.
that destroys the body.
yeah.
What do you think about cycles in history? Because it's said that history repeats itself, right? People who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And there was a history professor that gave me a class when I was in Ethiopia. I always said, what we learn from history is not learning from history.
Yes,
What
the
do you
only
think of
lesson
this?
that history teaches us is that we never learn anything from history.
Yeah. What do you think about the cycles in history?
Well, there are three
Mm.
views of history. One is the cyclic view, the birth of a nation, growth of a nation, golden age of a nation, decline of a nation, and demise of a nation. That's the cyclic view.
Yeah.
The Mayans believed in that.
Yeah.
The other view is the spiral view. Either you're spiraling up or you're spiraling down.
Yeah.
That's one view. The last view is the Christian view, the linear view, that if there is a beginning, there is an end. Like watching a movie,
Yeah. So
the end.
you don't believe. So you don't believe there's an actual cycle, but it's history. Do you think history is repeating itself in this time? Because
How can it repeat? We are in a different world completely. Maybe there is something cyclic in that sense, spiraling,
yeah,
either spiraling up or spiraling down. In that sense, there is a cyclicness.
yeah, there are things that have happened in the past century where people bring this question up because the flu came around the beginning of the 20th century. Something else happened where the population demography has a similar pattern in the past 3 or 4 centuries. That's an argument somebody was bringing up, and I was like, maybe it's a thing to consider.
Some people, like the Mayans, they really believe in cyclic thinking.
Yeah,
They believe that everything happens and comes around.
yeah,
I don't. I think the Christian view is most sensible.
most sensible.
There was a beginning, there will be an end.
But there is not as much that's happening today that was done yesterday.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think that's.
And I think that's one of the reasons why our education also should change. We cannot be teaching children what they know already is in textbook.
Yeah,
In fact, I go to class without a textbook,
yeah,
partly because of that.
because
Because you cannot go on teaching, because they know how to read.
yeah,
Yeah.
They don't need to pay so much money to just find out what has already been printed
in the book.
in the book, you see.
Yeah, sir, because the education system has stayed the same like for 100 years.
Exactly, we can change as much as we want, you know.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I never thought of it that way. But in the same way, what things do you think when you look at, let's say, young people at this day and age, what are things that you would advise people in our age to fix? Because there's not a lot, but what do you think?
Somebody
really
told
core
me
things?
this morning, somebody taught me, if you can define a problem, you are halfway towards a solution.
Yeah.
So I think we should encourage people to look at the problems in life that we see and search for solutions. But they must be able to sit and what? Define those. If you cannot define a problem, I don't think you can search for any solution.
Define the problem in your life.
Not only in your life, in society in general, you see.
Yeah.
If you want to bring about change, then you have to tell me what is that need to be changed.
Yeah.
If you cannot simply, you say change without knowing what you're going to change, doesn't make any sense, you see.
Yes.
I think education should, in that sense, move us towards what kids want. If you can do that in a syllabus system.
I see.
Right now, our syllabus is all pre-planned and pre-established, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we just go into class and see what the kids want to know?
Well, that too.
At least one class, at least 1 or 2 classes like that.
And you value the upcoming generation's opinions, sense of their own problem, And is that one of the duties that you assign yourself as an older person, a wiser person, a person with more experience to look and propose things that have worked in your life?
But that might not work for somebody else who's in another situation, you see.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I cannot go and tell them, here is my problem and here's my solution, when I should be actually worried about his problem and trying to find out some solution for his situation. So I think we have to somehow bring the students into the curriculum. Right now curriculum is pre-established
Yes.
and fixed. I don't know whether it will be too modern.
You mentioned curriculum. I thought of how Finland, their education system is the top in the world, right? And there's no like a pre-established curriculum like in America. They have all sorts of teaching material and teaching areas and domains where the kids can like start cooking, start drawing, start music, having all those like karaoke's and stuff, just having fun and exploring all those things. Why do you think here in America we established that curriculum, like you mentioned, in this what's it called, the education system?
Yeah.
And why do you think there's no any improvement, whereas in the other areas in life, in technology and
personally, I think that that's a very interesting question. I think the problem is this. We do not allow students to, we don't expose students to what they should be exposed to. Because I think the more thing you expose students to, like whether it's music or whatever, the more thing you expose to, they might not all become artists, but the fact that you expose them to it is the reason why they are where they are.
Yeah.
So our job is to expose them as to many possibilities. That's the job of a teacher. So a teacher should go into class and not tell the students how smart he is. He should go to class and tell how smart the students are.
Yeah.
That's the job of a teacher.
Sir.
Yes.
After all this experience of going to school, teaching for all these years, how do you keep your brain open to learning? When like a new phone comes, I know that you didn't have phones before. Now you have a phone. You have to deal with a tablet, write emails. How do you teach yourself adapt to these situations, or even philosophical ideas?
I think that that's a very interesting point. Even though I used to use pencil to draw, now I don't use my pencil to draw. I use the mouse to draw.
Yeah.
So it is ridiculous to waste money on pen and paper when you can do everything on the scratch the same thing on with the Microsoft Paint.
Yeah.
So to me, if you cannot, what did science tell us? That those who refuse to adapt are those who fail.
Yeah.
In science, that's a scientific principle.
The fittest.
Not only the fittest.
Adaptation. Yeah.
Those who fail to adapt are the who are sure to fail, doomed to fail.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think the main emphasis is on adaptation.
Yeah.
And I think with the technology that you are around us, for example, ChatGPT, just to give you a interesting point here, there was a time when the school told you cannot bring calculators to class.
Oh wow.
Then they said, if you don't bring calculators to class, don't come to class.
Yeah.
Now they're saying don't bring ChatGPT. I think that a time has come when ChatGPT is an integral part of our education system. So might as well use it, just like calculators, right? Can you go to class without a calculator now? No, of course not.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask you this question because we're speaking of change, curriculum and all these things of school and education. And I wanted to ask you, what would be starting in at the age of 4 where learning can start occurring and education is advancing, what would be the process that you would... Sir, do you have children? Okay. What do you think the ideal process of education would be?
First, education, you should allow a child to go to school only when the child wants to go to school.
Oh, that's a very...
You cannot say at 4 you have to go to school. Let the child decide if it wants to go to school. And when you do send the child to school, the criteria should be that whoever is welcoming you into the school, that person should be lovable. Because if the if the child goes to school and does not like the teacher, he will not like learning.
Yes.
It is as simple as that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whoever is planning to teach must be a lovable person, because if the student can love the teacher, the student will love learning.
Material.
And the learning. For the sake of the teacher, the child will learn.
That's so true, sir.
In the beginning, at least.
Yes, yes.
Once you instigate the love for learning, then the child, you cannot hold the child from learning.
Yeah.
It will become so easy, and so easy for you to teach, because the child is on his own.
Yeah. So, talking about flying, going back to your love for flying, have you watched Top Gun?
No, I saw him hanging on the side of the plane.
Lovely. What did you?
I saw the trailer.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't watch the whole movie.
No, I don't need to watch the whole. I just saw him hanging on the plane. That was enough for me.
yeah. No. So, we talked about traveling. We talked about education, philosophy, food you like to eat. Now let's talk about what you look forward to. Like, what do you think the next 10 years is coming with in our lives? What do you think is coming up in the near future?
In life, there are only 3 important events.
Yeah.
You are born.
Yeah.
You are married.
Yeah.
Then you look forward to a death.
Yeah.
So to me, that's it's a given.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to exit.
Yeah.
And I hope it is a meaningful exit. In other words, I should have no regrets.
Yeah.
That's all I hope for.
Yeah.
But between now and the exit, I hope to keep doing projects. I have many projects in mind.
Yeah.
And I want to see whether I can bucket list.
Yeah.
I have a few more things
You want to do.
I want to do, and I want to finish off that, and then my students keep in touch with me, so I know where they are and what they are doing, so I'm quite happy.
Yeah. So that is what gives you satisfaction, like seeing people you mold go somewhere.
Do so well.
Yeah.
I am honored to have a part in their journey. Exactly. Yeah. And tremendous amount of students have done excellent
in their lives. Most of us, I'd say including me, we're so worried about life in a monetary aspect, because we attach success to money and all those glamorous things. We lose sight of being present, being of service,
enjoying.
Like you having that sense of satisfaction by still being minimalist and not being too flashy. What do you think is key for people to change their perspective in that sense? Because we need that. I just feel like we're so focused on.
I think in this country, the famous 23rd Psalm, materialistic version of the 23rd Psalm. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Science is my shepherd.
Oh.
I shall not want. It maketh me to drive down in 6-lane highways. The hydrogen bomb and the neutron bomb, they comfort me. So we live in a society that is completely bought into this materialistic version of life, you see. So in such a world, to live a minimalist life is an amazing thing. You don't need to be dragged with that mentality that you have to have a big house, a big car. I think that you need a car, but you can drive a small car.
Doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter, you see. But I think, as you said, the present is more important than what you can amass. And there is a problem with America in that sense, But there's nothing right and wrong about it. But that's what this country is all about, very materialistic. But I think you don't need to become one of them. You can still be an Indian and be a minimalist.
That's so true. Sir, in that sense, talking about being a minimalist and talking about being driven with different motives, most people find it hard to, let's say, we're just talking about motivations of the future, right? many people find it hard to move on from things of past, right? Traumas, problems they've been through. Like, what are the best ways you think for people to look forward and live in the present while detaching themselves from?
If God wanted us to look to the past, He would have put one eye at the back. The fact that He put two eyes in the front, I think you cannot drive unless you're backing the car, looking at the back. You have to look forward. So nothing you do can change the past, right? Nothing. So I think that common sense tells us that, like the Bible, the plow. You look forward, right? And then the cow also starts moving in that. The cow is not looking where you're looking, but it will go in the direction that you are telling it to go, you see. So I think we have to be strong enough to move forward rather than look backward.
Talking about cows, I hear that in India there are no beef hamburgers.
No beef patties in McDonald's. Only goat patties.
Where does that belief come from? In short, can you explain to me?
First of all Hindus most Hindus are vegetarians. So most of the hotels there are Udupi. Udupi means vegetarian hotels. So cow is one of the animals, but sacred. Because it's always associated with some temples.
See, sir, we know that Hindus now believe in a god or in their gods. We believe in gods. All over the world, people have thousands of religions.
Find someone to worship.
But find someone to worship. And in the same way in the Bible where Abraham meets a priest called Melchizedek, right? And he says, he meets him and this guy was worshipping the same God, but we only follow Abraham's lineage to the explanation of who God is. That, for me, just showing that God was known to other people, even at that time, that we didn't know. Right?
Exactly.
Do you believe, to some extent, all the religions around the world, at some point, or most of these religions, have basis in a knowledge of a true God, the eternal God?
I think the fact that we are all created in the image of God, we all have a sense of divinity. They call it the sense of divinity in each one of us that will project that single idea. Sensus divinitatis, I think that's the expression that Calvin uses, that all of us deep inside have a sense of divinity. So it's not a surprise that you'll suddenly see that commonality in every person that you come across who believes in God. That's how I look at it. But the key element here is this: knowing God or knowing God as God wants you to know Him. So God does not reveal what you want to know about Him. God only reveals what He wants us to know about Him. So if you know God as God wants you to know Him, you will not have any other gods before Him. So the reason why we have other gods before Him is because we want to know God as we want to know Him.
Not what He wants.
Yes, if you really know God as He wants us to know Him, we will not have any other gods before Him.
Wow, that's super fun.
So we're going to be closing off soon, but I still have a couple questions I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you an Adventist?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I was wondering, what made you come to that conclusion? Because sometimes it's hard for me to say, like, we're the remnants and, like, we're the one true religion. Like, it's hard for me to, because, I mean, there's been progress in our beliefs, change in doctrines. I mean, we didn't start with 28 fundamental beliefs, right? It eventually added up to that, right? But I was wondering, what made you come to that conclusion of, I want to be an Adventist?
I think that if you look at belief that revelation is progressive, we have reformers, Martin Luther Calvin, Zwingli.
Yeah.
So if you look at the way God reveals himself throughout in history, so we are part of that progressive revelation. So I think God chooses to reveal more of himself as he sees fit. So the more he reveals, the more he expects us to follow, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, maybe we are right when you look at the Adventist tradition that we are a prophetic church. Then if you look at everything else that has fallen in place before us, then everything falls in place now. So I don't think you can take too much, put too much emphasis on that. Why you are this, not a Catholic. The emphasis should not be on that, but at least see how God has led us in terms of revealing himself.
Sir, how much does where do you think passion or like interest should be, how much should it influence us in our drive to achieving things? Should it be, there are two schools of thought where people say you should just have a goal that's realistic, go for it, and there's another school of thought where people say, hey, I love this, I'm passionate about this, and they follow their dreams.
Driven, how much being driven matters. If you are driven too much, then the goal becomes everything, and then you forget the journey. Does it make sense? I think we are. If you are so focused on that, you forget everything else that's happening between now and then. You see. I think that you should enjoy the journey just as much as the goals, that the destination, right? Whenever I travel, I keep that in mind always. Sometimes you are just so focused on going to Greenland, and I forget about everything else between here and Greenland. So I think it's important to be driven, but not to the point you're crazy over the goal that you forget everything else. So you'll trample on people and get to your goal. It doesn't make any sense.
That's so right, sir. That's so right. Do you enjoy listening to music? What type of music do you like?
I like any music that has a nice calm rhythm. Because without music I cannot paint.
Oh wow. Do you listen to jazz?
If it is in the right tempo.
Calms you down.
It has to calm me down, because you are firing away with this my neurons and this muscle. For every painting job, it takes millions of clicks for each painting. So you need something to calm you down.
So we're probably going to be finishing soon.
Okay.
But I wanted, because we have established, Abel and I, that we want this podcast to be to have the goal and purpose of education and sharing wisdom in a way that's free, in a way that's conversational. And one thing that I've heard you speak a lot about is journey, a lot about understanding why you live, understanding where you're going and why you're doing so, and why you're going into that direction. I was kind of figuring out that was one of your main goal, but I was wondering if you had to put it in a short sentence or even a small paragraph, what would be the overarching advice that you would give people our age?
Okay, as students, the only small advice I would give is, someone taught me when I started my education journey, all education, this is quotation, all education is for application. What you know is of no use if you don't know what to do with what you know.
Wow. And you also forget if you don't apply,
exactly,
that knowledge is pointless.
Exactly. What you know is of no use if you don't know what to do with what you know.
Are there other things you like doing, you enjoy, except for teaching us, which we enjoy too, and you draw, we know, but what else do you enjoy in your free time?
Conversations with people when they are honest.
Ooh. Okay.
You know, they're not afraid to ask a question and, you know, share their paradigm.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest gifts that God has given each one of us to enlarge our paradigm. And if you want to enlarge your paradigm, you must listen to other people's worldviews and be able to define and defend their worldview even if you don't agree with them. And that is part of my journey, is to let people share, you know, wherever I go, I try to listen and learn. All the conferences I go is just to enlarge my own paradigm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And once again, that's a journey.
It's a journey, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's really amazing, sir. Again, we're just closing this nice conversation we've had with you.
Thank you for
And
inviting me.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. We've been learning a lot. Time has been going so fast. As I think we're gonna be watching this video again and again in time, because we're gonna learn a lot from it. Looking forward to watching it again too. So, in a general sense, sir, when you have hard times in your personal life, what do you fall back on? What do you think to yourself as a person?
I go for a long walk. It really breaks things down. You sense you need to know that you can resolve certain things, and you cannot let something that happened take over.
Yeah.
So I think you learn that it's not the end of the world. You can pick up the pieces wherever it is, you know.
Yeah.
And you can move forward.
Yeah.
And exercise, walking is a very good way to solve some of the issues that you might possibly have in your mind. Yeah.
That's actually something that is very discouraging to me. I've seen this mindset of the world is crumbling and there's nothing I can do, and it's truly saddening to me. A lot of my friends have had that mindset, especially the ones from back home, have had this mindset of, man, I'll try my best, but I don't think I'll be able to fix this. And I think having that mindset of being optimistic of, I can resolve.
Yeah.
And once, and like you mentioned, once I find what the issue is, I'm halfway there.
Yeah, if you can define your problem, that's why walking is a very good time to define the problem for yourself. That's half the solution.
That's amazing. What?
Should we
You
cut
have
it?
another question?
Joshua has to go.
I have to go. Sorry, I
Okay.
have a prayer meeting in 4 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you should leave. We're
But
gonna
I'll
wrap
move this train. There's still 20 minutes left.
up. Okay, we're gonna wrap up as soon as that.
But yes.
Okay, you
Thank
sit
you so
here
much.
and I'll do the camera.
No, you guys can stay. It'll run till 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
We're
put a
gonna
20
finish.
Put a 15-minute timer, and then
Yeah.
once that runs,
Set a 15-minute timer.
but I have to go.
15 minutes.
Yes, there we're gonna
That's
close.
we got
here.
15 minutes left.
So we did the interview for 1 hour?
Yes, we have only now 15 minutes left. And
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
So
I
if you,
put this in case. So if you guys go ahead and go online,
Okay.
then this one will take it.
Awesome.
But yeah.
so we already finished 1 hour.
Yes.
You guys have
We
been
finished an
1
hour
hour
and a half.
24. That's been 1 hour 24.
Minutes.
Yeah.
It just went like that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's great
This
to
is
see
like
you back here. It's really interesting. But yeah, thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite part because this is one of my big conversation starter. And if you would like, I would just like to quick fire some questions that I love asking people. If you were a color, which color would you be?
You're talking about all the races.
No.
Oh, you're talking about oh, I see, like the birds. I mean, like the animal. I see.
Any bird you could.
Okay,
any
color.
green,
I
blue,
see.
Orange.
What color do you like?
Blue,
See, this
blue.
is where we're going
Blue.
down the non-philosophical.
Blue. I was thinking
Why do you
of
say so? Why do you say so? I'm curious.
because there is one type of blue called royal blue.
Ooh, royal blue.
Royal?
Royal blue.
Do you consider yourself of the royal?
No, it's just when I wear one, my hair is it goes well with it.
Yeah, you're here. Think about
And speaking on actual color, like
yeah.
I thought you were talking about race, and I was wondering, should I identify myself brown or?
What do you think about racism, sir? Like,
Because the moment you use color in this country, color means race. You see,
Yeah.
so that's why I went on that tangent.
there are people who say there is not a racist person on earth. On the other hand, because people just like their own kind. How do you think people should balance between liking their own kind?
I think
and
that
lives?
race is an honest difference,
huh.
just like gender is.
Yeah.
And the sooner you accept it, the better all of us will be. Somebody saying there is no difference, I say there is a difference called race.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that difference must be, it's an honest difference.
Mm-hmm.
And just like intelligence is an honest difference, gender is an honest difference, and race is an honest difference.
Yeah.
And each race comes with its own qualities.
Yeah.
And instead of saying there is no race, you might as well say accept it and then say it's an honest difference and enjoy the difference.
Because these days, sir, the objective reality of things, people don't like thinking that there's one truth to things. People like having their own understanding of things and saying, hey, there's a different truth. What you're saying applies to you, what I'm saying applies to me.
But that's also true in some sense, because someone said, truth is subjectivity. That is a famous quote by Kierkegaard.
Yeah.
Truth is subjectivity, which simply means that there is no truth except truth for me.
Mm.
So that's also true in a sense, you
But
see.
is there a truth?
But I think that I personally think there is truth and what I know about truth.
Yeah.
So
There should be a difference.
there's a difference between truth and what I know about truth.
Yes.
You cannot say they are one and the same thing.
Yes, yes.
What I know about truth is
That's
here.
subjective understanding.
That's my subjective understanding. But truth is what is.
Yeah.
But what I know about what is here,
Yeah.
which is subjective. I cannot deny that. That's biases and basis that I might have in my brain.
In your brain. Yeah.
But that is part of how truth is. I don't think anybody has access to objective truth objectively. We only have access to truth. We have access to objective truth subjectively.
Yeah.
Yes, because you have your own
Exactly. See.
Okay, and on that note, oh man, I was gonna go the non-philosophical.
Back to back.
We want to ask him.
No, but I got a question.
Let him go to the color, the route of the color.
Okay, so this is my last
Simple question.
my last philosophical question, and then we fast forward to the easy questions.
Okay.
What is your, because you were speaking on subjective truth, objective truth, and perceiving objective truth
Subjectively. Yeah.
And how would you reconcile, or how do you reconcile with the current opinion of people identifying as how they feel, and let's say I feel like a male, I have the right to tell others I'm a male and you should consider me as a male.
Well, first point, I don't think anybody should define who you are. What biology defines us as whatever it is what it is, right? But having said that, there is a few whose bodies exhibit different genes inside and body parts outside.
Yes.
So in that kind of way, we have to be honest and accept the fact that that is not what is in the general world. And we have to respect, because that person is also having a hard time to identify who he is. So if the genes inside is one thing, but the body parts are saying something else, then he does not know, or he or she does not know what defines him as a person. But the word person is a very interesting concept. Person is neutral, right? It's not
Yeah.
it's not male or female, a person. So sometimes you have to forget all these differences and consider each as a person.
Yeah.
Because to treat any person as a non-person is to not see God at all.
Yeah.
In fact, when you see any person as a non-person, you cease to be a person.
Uh-huh.
Because to only every person you can be a person.
Mm.
So it's important for us to sometimes forget the biology and transcend to that personhood, what it makes a person a person. That's very hard because sometimes usually people look at biology for defining who a person is, but a person is beyond biology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both a male and female, both are persons.
Yeah.
So if God is a person,
Yeah.
and he is treating us as a person, then we should treat each other as persons,
No matter what.
no matter what the issue might be. You see, it's a tough question, but I can understand. But a lot of times we let other people define who you are.
Yeah.
Or
horrible.
Exactly.
I think we should always go back to what you said in that how we perceive truth, because all of us are biased to some extent.
biases and basis for how you arrive at truth is different from person to person.
Yeah, and you shape your personality, who you are.
Belief formation.
Yeah, you build
All our belief formations are very unique.
Yes. Yeah, I think I do really agree with your point, sir. Going back to our fun questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Do not include these philosophical questions. What do you think about roller coasters? Have you been on one?
Roller coaster, I think it is for people who don't throw up.
Did you throw up on a roller coaster?
The thought of itself I will throw up.
Oh, I see.
I quit flying because of that.
Yeah.
Because when you drop the plane from 6,000 feet to 3,000 feet, like a roller coaster ride, you drop.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't. At least at this age, I have a hard time.
Yeah.
The minimalistic food.
Yes, coming out, I cannot afford to lose.
The little food you have inside you.
So it is for people who are who can't throw up.
Okay, I've got another question for you. This one, I think for me is obvious, but I know for other people it might not be. Would you rather have a pet dinosaur or a pet unicorn?
I think I'll go for dinosaur.
When I said obvious for me, usually it would be I would have a pet unicorn. Please describe your choice making.
The reason is, I have always been fascinated by prehistorical animals, right? For whatever reason, it was there, right?
Yeah.
And to be in their presence must be an amazing thing. Yeah.
And the Bible doesn't
Have you watched
speak
Jurassic Park?
I have watched not Jurassic Park. I watched the other one that came out.
Jurassic World.
Yes, the other one that came.
Mm.
And that one was interesting to watch that, that we are able to recreate. And with all the discoveries being made in Russia where the ice is thawing out and they're finding these mammoths and they're carrying this big, what do you call those? Tusks.
Yeah.
They're carrying them around.
Tusk is
The tusk, the elephant tusk like that.
Yeah.
The mammoth tusk are huge, like as long as this room. They're carrying it around because the thawing has taken place and all these animals are still with their chewing stuff. Now I'm wondering whether they can take DNA from that and give it to the elephants and create something like that, you see.
Oh, recreating the past and
So it is possible, you see. That's why I'm very intrigued by that.
Okay.
Not that they're going to be easy on me, they may trample me, but
Yes.
from a distance.
From a distance. Okay.
Sir, do you enjoy any sports, or in the past did you watch cricket or football?
I used to play a few sports. I think now my biology has taken over, so I cannot run.
Do you
I
watch?
cannot. I can only walk.
Yeah.
I watch cricket.
Yeah.
I watch basketball. I like basketball because it's very fast. You see.
Yeah.
I like this what do you call this?
Volleyball.
Volleyball also is very good.
Yeah. No football, sir.
Football also, it is not as good as fast as this, you know. Unless you're watching world-class football players like what is his name, Ronaldo and the other fellow,
The little Messi.
Messi. How they can,
We don't like it.
and Modana, or what's his name?
Maradona.
Maradona. How they can trickle a ball
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
through the crowd and shoot
Yeah.
it. They are amazing. But you know that happens every now and then.
What about combat sports? Boxing.
I don't like any
aggressive.
sports that potentially can kill each other. I don't understand how you can create a sport which says that outside the ring you cannot touch me,
each other.
but inside the ring you can kill me.
Don't you think it's a way for many men that can't go to war at this day and age to release their whatever?
No, it is a skill, but I don't see. It's one thing for men to fight. I can understand. I can understand, but for others to join in the sport and say let's also do that one doesn't make any sense. But I cannot watch it. I don't like to watch, especially Thai boxing.
Oh, Thai.
That is
Bare knuckle.
very cruel. It is
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
below the belt.
All right. And for our last question, if you had any unusual talent, what would it be, and why?
I cannot
Picking or-
talent.
Yes, talent.
I thought habit. I cannot sleep.
Oh.
If a class is going on, next class period, only the time I can sleep is weekends. When
Oh,
there's no
wow.
class tomorrow. If I have class tomorrow, my mind is constantly going over the lecture. But I must be
Wow.
sleeping, but I'm not sleeping.
So you're
I'm
not-
resting.
Oh, okay.
I'm resting, but I'm not sleeping.
So you have your eyes closed.
Eyes closed, but the lecture is going on over my head. So it's a big nonsense, nuisance I have.
The curse of knowledge.
Yeah.
Not because of knowledge, it's just not anxious, but I'm just going
Excitement?
through the excitement of how to deliver, how the students will, what possible questions they might possibly have, things like that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So you're saying your talent you would like to have would be to actually be able to sleep.
If I can, have a normal, quote unquote, normal life.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So I think this is where we're gonna end it.
Thank you,
I mean,
you guys.
We've been recording for an hour and 40 minutes.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It has been a great opportunity to be able to
You're
speak to
welcome,
you,
you're welcome.
explore philosophy with you, especially where the meet lines in philosophy and religion, and a little bit about your past and how you think. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See you guys. Or you can add some more stuff.
Yeah, I just want to add to that ever since I came to Burman, I have really enjoyed your classes. I really look forward to coming back to those classes. And I remember this day where I think it was the second day I was in your class and you asked a question and I answered that question. I thought of it really hard. And once I answered the question, you were like, tell me something I don't know. And that stuck in my head, right? And ever since then, your humor and your knowledge and how you treat us as students has always stuck with me. Thank you for what you do for us. I think everybody that watches this, everybody in Burman is always talking good things about you because you impact our lives in a good way. Yeah, and I think it's a testament to who you are that people have good things to say about you.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
thank you.
we just want to reaffirm that, and we hope that someday we could actually do something good with our lives, connect back with you, and thank you for things you've done for us.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. It's Wednesday
dark outside.
evening. It's dark. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Under the Maple. Literally Under the Maple. See you next time.
See you guys. All right, that was perfect. Oh man, I'm so excited.